Okay.
Ina, good to see you. Finally, we've connected. I'm really pleased about that. I wanted to kick off by asking you about something that we talked about last time we were talking. And you made a really interesting point. You said to me, "My business is a hedge against AI," which is a really interesting idea. So, why do you say that? I mean, why do you say that? But also tell us a bit about your business.
Yeah, of course. Paul, thanks for having me. So my name is Einars Garoza. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Conserve Safari Camps and Lodges. And so what we do is we build luxury safari properties in prime safari parks in Africa, Tanzania specifically. So we build physical assets in some of the most extreme places in the world. And so why is it a hedge against AI? So it's an interesting concept. So I love the example that Brian Johnson made, the guy who's trying not to die. And so he basically said that right now we have been living in an environment which can be considered as a water. And so as we progress with technological development, the temperature of the water is increasing.
Yeah,
And right now, with the latest developments, we're approaching a temperature which is at boiling level, at boiling temperature. And so what's going to happen next? All the water is going to evaporate and we're going to be left in a new state, in a new space. And so no one knows what that state is actually going to look
yeah,
like.
yeah,
And so my bet is that that AI is basically going to take large amounts of knowledge work and what what is it gonna draw it down for physical experiences. And so certainly real estate is one of those
yeah.
experiences. And so in our case, it even goes one step further. It's also real estate immersed in some of the rarest and scarcest environments in the world, which is safari parks.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, how did you? I mean, that's such an interesting idea. I mean, how did you come up with the idea? I mean, where did this come from? I mean, have you been involved in AI previously and then thought I want to get out, or I mean, where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so I've been involved in technology business. So before I got myself into Safari real estate, I'm actually a finance guy. So I spent a decade in finance, in
Right.
wealth management, in corporate finance. Eventually, I was building financial technology. And so as we were building out financial technology, we also, of course, used AI tools and started early adoption of the AI tools. And so we also had a venture studio. And so I was general partner of a venture studio called Last to Market, where we were replicating business models that have proven themselves in the market. And we were just quickly spanning out startups and repurposing them from different markets. And we would span out a startup every 3 weeks. And
Wow.
so when AI came up, you can basically start a startup in just a few hours. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't make sense to compete with that anymore. And so I had a feeling that if you want to compete, if you want to play in that software field, then that's going to be very challenging. And so that was potentially one of the reasons why we started this business. But I've been personally drawn to real estate business myself. My mother was an architect. My father was involved in the commercial real estate in the past. And so this feels like coming home. But I never expected I would be in this business. So it was
Hmm.
very unexpected journey.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm sure. And I mean, tell me about, as it were, the transition from being a finance guy to being a real estate guy, because it's not just any real estate, is it? You're not just buying apartments in London or New York. I mean, you're doing something
Right.
really different with real estate. I mean, tell me about the transition. I mean, what was it like switching from one to the other? I mean, obviously, knowing about finance is probably pretty useful, but it must be a very different experience doing what you're doing.
Of course. Yeah. So I thought that I might get pretty far from my computer and Excel spreadsheets. That hasn't happened. So real
Right.
estate is to a large extent still finance heavy. But how it happened was that I moved to Africa with my family about 2 years ago. We initially landed in Uganda with a different business, and then pretty quickly I got introduced to Tanzania, and so I got invited by a common friend to come and join on a safari and explore what he's doing. So this person owns a safari business in Uganda, and I think 5 or 6 lodges also in Uganda, and he was about to expand to Tanzania. and we thought we might do something together. So I joined him on a trip. And funny enough, just the night before I had to fly to Tanzania, my temperature started to rise and I started feeling sick. And
Right.
so I go to hospital to do blood screening, and it turned out I was diagnosed for malaria. And so I was not able to fly to Tanzania. And
Yeah.
so I thought, what I'm going to do? I mean, I have to stay at home. I have to treat myself. So, doctor put me blue pills that I had to drink, and in 3 days I managed to clear malaria. And so, but I was still tired, and so I could have stayed home and just skipped this trip because back then I didn't know anything about Tanzania. This was very exploratory, very high
Yeah.
level discovery, and so I could have skipped it. But I thought I had a feeling that I must go, and so I did go on that trip. And so I joined this person. We explored some of the best parks in the world. We went to Tarangire National Parks, and explored the safari hub of Arusha. And something clicked, and so I came back again, started doing diligence on this business. We managed to get some good data from other properties that operate in the market, which was very good, which was very unusual for me and very surprising for me coming from a European market. So people were open to sharing their data and information
Hmm.
about how their business is going, and numbers made sense. And the following month, we made a decision to invest in Tanzania market, and so that was summer of 2024, less than two years ago.
Wow. And now I live in Oxfordshire in the UK, right? And building anything is a nightmare because of the planning rules. I mean, I had perhaps wrongly assumed that building safari lodges in the places that you were, I would have assumed that that was also a pretty difficult thing to do, to build in places like that. I mean, tell us about how you do that.
Yeah, yes and no. So there's quite a bit of red tape to obtain licenses and concessions to build
Yeah.
inside national parks. This is our sole focus. So we build inside national parks so people can stay and sleep among lions, buffaloes, and zebras during the night.
Wow.
So experience the
Wow.
same wildlife. It is magical. It's completely different experience that you would stay just outside the park or in one of the close by cities. And so when you actually start building, actually the building rules are more relaxed. Especially we build semi-permanent structures. So we manage like high-end glamping sites. So we
So they're
build
like big
privately,
safari tents.
yeah, big safari tents. We do at least 45 square meter double rooms, so above
Right.
the suite level when it comes to classic hospitality. We build them on elevated wood decks and with all the amenities, with hot showers, toilets, etc. So they're proper rooms, but with canvas walls, and there's a reason for it. So it was actually not that hard, and so you can actually construct them fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think we built our first property in 5 months and the second one in 4 months.
Well, that is really quick.
15 rooms. And I would call it a small village. So in total, there are close to 35 structures that we have to build.
Right.
So we usually do 14 or 15 rooms in front of the house. There's restaurant, there's public toilet, there's kitchen, there's store. Then there's also camp manager tent, and then there's also rooms for the staff members who basically permanently live there. And those are quite a few structures. So you have to build a small village in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, and just tell me, what are you building towards? I mean, I know you've kind of started off, and we were just talking before we came on about the next thing that you're building. But just give us a sense of where you're going with this. I mean, are you going to build thousands of them? I mean, what's the kind of plan?
Yeah, so we want to become the largest sustainable safari accommodation provider in Africa. So right now, the largest player has around 60 properties. So that's probably the benchmark. But we're starting with Tanzania. So we want to expand presence here. We see a lot of potential in Tanzania. It might be the most interesting safari market right now in whole sub-Saharan Africa, due to the reason that it was relatively closed years ago, and right now it's opening up for foreign investment, and so it's starting from generally low base, and so
Yeah.
compared to Kenya or South Africa, there's still a lot of opportunity spaces. So I think we're going to be busy for Tanzania. when it comes to development for at least 2, 3, 4 years, and then we'll potentially go
Yeah.
elsewhere as well.
I mean, Africa's a big place, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot to go at.
Very big place. Exactly. So I know what makes sense to us is probably initially go to Kenya.
Mhm.
I just came back from Nairobi. That's 4.5 hour drive, so it's not that far away. It's almost like a single market. Masai Mara, the world famous Masai Mara,
Yeah.
is actually part of the same Serengeti ecosystem.
Well,
And so, what defines Serengeti Park ecosystem is the wild beast migration. So, there are 1.5 million wild beasts that follow water. Basically, they follow rain
yeah.
patterns and they move around the park throughout the year. And there's a 500,000 zebras that follow it. There are thousands of lions and predators that also follow the herd because it's their food.
Yeah.
And so Masai Mara is 10% of the whole Serengeti ecosystem. But what Kenyans, with their great selling and marketing skills, have done, they've created a great brand out of it.
Yeah.
And so they're much more far ahead. But that also means that that ecosystem is far more developed, mature, and dense, so that the opportunity space is also more limited for new entrants. So
Yeah.
right now we feel that it's Tanzania's moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. Let me ask you about what success would look like. I mean, you know, when will you get to the point where you can say, this is succeeded? Because you're on a sort of developmental phase at the moment. What does success look like to you?
Yeah, so there are multiple success criteria. We're in a business, and so financial success is one thing. So we are building. So what we do with on the funding and investment side is that we have fractionalized investments in these properties, and we have basically packaged that investment product that people
Okay.
can invest in.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any other example or anyone else doing it. We're the first ones who provide access to uh, returns from Safari real estate business. And so there are a
Okay.
lot of people that want to engage, but it's very difficult. So I don't even know how would you get access to those kinds of returns and those types of
Yeah.
assets. You might acquire an existing business, but then you're dragged into the additional complexities of it. A lot of people don't want to do it. So they've been on Safari and they want to do something with or within Africa, but they didn't have a meaningful way to engage. So we provide that. So financial success is one thing. The other one is probably keeping these spaces or bettering these spaces where we operate. And one of the underlying reasons why we do this is we want to build spaces where people can find themselves and reconnect with nature. And this is truly scarce resource. And we believe in healing power of nature. And so when people go on safari,
Yeah.
it's actually a very huge gift for the humanity that people can come on safari and see all this wildlife, and it resonates. It steers something
Yeah.
within people, and we hope that that can be some form of initiation to go deeper and explore more about ourselves. And so, safari or animals are not necessarily kind of like um, how to put it. Um, it's actually people who need this gift of
Yeah.
animals, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is the reason why we need to conserve and preserve these environments. And so one of the success criteria for us would be that we create an operating model which basically is financially sustainable so that we can fund conservation and impact projects around these ecosystems in perpetuity. And so if we succeed there, so hopefully we can preserve and expand these environments for at least next 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we would
Well, I mean,
imagine a
if you can
future that we all have these animals.
Yeah, if you can achieve that, you'll be doing really well. Um, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that shows that getting out into nature is good for your mental health, isn't it? I mean, just to pick up the point you were making about why people need to spend time in places like this, because it helps to improve your mental health. So I totally get that. Let me ask you about being surrounded by wildlife, though. I mean, I'm not sure I want to be in a tent with a lion outside. I mean, how do people, I mean, just tell us about how that's managed. I mean, presumably, you've got a way to make sure that people stay safe because some of the animals in Africa are pretty scary.
That's true. They are scary, and that's the magic of it.
Yeah,
But I will start off by saying it's safe. It's safe. It's not an animal's nature to attack people, either whether they are in tents or in cars. So usually animals see a person as part of the larger structure, so they feel that if you're in a car, you're basically a large animal, and they will not attack you. And it's almost like they ignore you as
yeah,
as animals. But this danger element and being in wild environment and seeing these wild animals in their natural habitat is actually why safari is so appealing
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
there's something raw about this environment that when you go in this environment, especially us as men in the Western world, we're almost like we're tamed. We're so
yeah,
clean, polished, structure, well behaved,
yeah,
etc. We're so tame that going in these environments, seeing some wild elements, very rough and wild elements. I know you can see a kill, like lion kills, I know, zebra or antelope, and that might not be therapeutic at that specific moment. It create some stress maybe,
yeah,
um, but also it shows something about yourself, and so then it's almost like indirectly it operates as a mirror. It shows something.
yeah,
If that specific situation resonated with you, it tells something about yourself, and then the question is whether you pull that thread and explore more. Maybe you go
yeah,
home and read about it and go on retreat and come back on safari again. So it can be very insightful experience.
yeah. And let me ask you about the people that want that experience. I mean, what kind of people go on safaris? I mean, my other half, she's been on a couple of safaris. I mean, it's a long time ago, but she really enjoyed them. I mean, how big? I mean, in terms of an industry, I mean, how big is that industry? If you get, I mean, give us an indication of the kind of size.
So the luxury safari trail market is, I think, right now at 5 billion, if I'm not
Wow,
mistaken. So it's
really?
fairly large industry and it's growing. It's outgrowing general travel industry, and Tanzania and safari industry is outgrowing other safari markets. So we get a good mix. Usually it's people in 50s and 60s. Safari travelers tend to be more women um,
Hmm.
who travel here. There's a lot of families, a lot of couples. Right now, what we see with Gen Zs and millennial generations is that coming out of COVID, the COVID, they saved some money and they bought a lot of things, a lot of stuff. And I think they're tired of the things that they possess. And so right now we see a lot of demand for experiential travel.
Yeah, yeah,
And so what about a better experience than going on safari? So we see a lot of demand coming from that source.
yeah. And which part of the world is the demand coming from? I mean, is it? I mean, is it Europe? Is it Australia? Is it the US? I mean, I mean, I know a lot of people from the UK do it, obviously, because I know quite a lot of people that have done it. I mean, where's most of the demand coming from at the moment?
UK is a big market. I think historically because of the royal family traveling a
Yeah.
lot on to Africa and going safari. Tanzania specifically has been historically European travel destination. So there's
Right.
a lot of Europeans in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Western Europe, all over the European market. We see quite a lot of Americans and Canadians also coming. There's a lot of Australians input they have to travel like 20, 30 hours. They still do. Interestingly, right now, I think there's growing middle class in India and China. So we see a lot more
Yeah.
agents and tour operators with those routes who bring a lot more Chinese and in Indian guests. So it's pretty much all over the place. A little bit maybe less from South America for good reasons. But rest of the world, they're
Yeah.
coming on safari.
I mean,
And that's what
they must
also,
be an
yeah,
interesting group of customers.
yeah, and that is what also what appeals to me personally because I get to meet people from all over the world, learn from their experiences, chat with them, talk to them. So it's good angle also personally.
Yeah. And tell me about being a CEO in the travel business, in the real estate and travel business. I mean, just how do you feel about that job? I mean, what is it you like about it other than meeting customers, which you've already mentioned? I mean, what is it about it that attracted to you? to being the CEO? Because you're building this business, aren't you?
Yeah, so we have a good team in place. So I happen to be CEO, but I just need to make sure that the business moves forward. So my most important thing is to make sure that the business doesn't run out of cash. So that is the role of the CEO of
Mm,
early stages of the business. So that's my largest focus. So I constantly solve for the biggest bottleneck, so that business can continue growing. What I enjoy maybe personally is I really like designing spaces. So
right.
working together with architects, designers, or suppliers to make sure that we build great properties, and then also engaging in um, choreography. How do we accept the customer? How do we interact with the customer? What do we put on the menu? We also signed world's best sommelier. He's actually Latvian, and so he helped us create the special wine selection featuring best
Wow.
of African wines.
Yeah.
So kind of like refining these small things and pushing limits, how far we can go with actually having a great customer experience. And so, but eventually it boils down. It's almost like peeling away what's not necessary so that people can uh, settle down, relax, be themselves, and just experience the environment. That's
Yeah.
all there is.
Yeah. I mean, as you were talking, the thing that was going through my mind was this thing that I have is about doing less but doing it better, and trying to
Yeah.
do the things that you do really, really well, and not getting tangled up with stuff that has very little impact often. I mean, have you? I mean, how do you work out what to focus on?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest key questions. Interestingly, in African environment, most of the successful businesses they operate as conglomerates. So they
Right.
have different lines of businesses. They might be in steel, cement, they might be in lodges, real estate, have some logistics trading business. So everything under one roof. And right now we try to really stay focused on what we do best. But we still have we have a lot of things to do. So from one side, we're a real estate sponsor. So what we do, we syndicate capital, we develop projects,
Mhm.
we deploy capital, and we do investor relations. From the other side, we have to manage these properties. So
Yeah.
anything from development to daily operations. And that's a completely different type of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm new to this hospitality industry. So as I learn about it, there's also when it comes to management side, you can separate the management and almost like go
Yeah.
white label model and hand over keys to some other white label property management company while you only maintain the brand presence. So post on social media and work with travel agents just to grow your brand presence. So that's something we also do in house, but that could be also a separate business. So in order to run Safari properties here, we basically have to have four or five different types of businesses under one roof. So I don't know, maybe as we expand, we grow in scale, we're just gonna pick one domain and really, really focus on that one, which might be real estate sponsorship, or which that might be actually property
Yeah.
management. So we don't know yet. So the future is gonna tell.
Yeah, either way, it'll be very interesting, won't it? And how do you? I mean, I talk to a lot of CEOs, and pretty much all of them will say that building a business is like riding a roller coaster. You know, there are good days and there are bad days. It's a tough gig. What is it about this that particularly motivates you personally to do this?
Yeah, so I don't know. So my objective right now in this point of life is to live more authentic version of myself.
Right.
And so I'm struggling actually with what I did previously. So finance roles, I built several different businesses. So this is my fifth business. And so I was always looking for something next. So living in the
Yeah.
future that basically the thing that I'm doing is a stepping stone to getting to something that is going to be a real deal. And so right now, as we build these lodges and operate them, and create demand for safari experiences, it kind of like feels very natural. And
Right.
of course, it's a roller coaster, but it's not necessarily a type of roller coaster where you feel this constant anxiety. So sometimes you might get stressed about things, or you might run out of
Yeah.
money. But I don't know. There's certain peace when I think you find your own thing. There's certain peace about it because you feel that you're gonna be in that business for long term, And if there's the roller coaster is going down, it's actually a great opportunity to learn a lot about that business.
Yeah.
So, mature in a sense. So both that going up and down can teach you a lot about that
Yeah.
business. So if you have long-term view on that business, so you treat everything, every situation as a gift that you can take advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting
So
because
that's how I look.
when we've spoken in the past, I came away with a sense of that you're quite peaceful. You seem quite calm and quite peaceful. Do you think that's as a result of being in the business that you're in?
Yeah, I think so. So it generally came before this business, and this business, let's go this way. It's like a manifestation of my own personal change. Yeah, I had major life change. So I didn't live in Africa. I was not in this business. I had let's say I had a regular finance job in Europe, working on two big screens and a laptop.
Mm,
And so, and then something felt that I had a feeling that there's something more.
mm,
And so I was trying to chase and explore that feeling that there's something more. And so it was like 3 year transition. So it was like a liminal space where something had ended and the new thing hadn't started. And it could be quite daunting. And so I kept going and eventually led to Africa and led to this business. So once I once I found it, then things kind of like calmed down.
mm,
Like, I don't know, there's a lot more peace, a lot more calmness in this thing. So I think actually it's for every person is just kind of like rotating in your right place in
mm.
the grand scheme of things. Find your niche in the world,
Yeah.
and then that gives peace. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a very
even
well
though
made point.
that niche could be a roller coaster up and down as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, it I mean somebody said to me you should focus on finding the thing that you were meant to do. I mean I'm not sure I was meant to do anything, but I get the point. If you really if it feels right, it's going to be a better place to be doing business, doesn't it? Let me ask you about the journey that you've been on. I mean, have you had any? I mean, you've obviously moved from finance into real estate and tourism. Have you had any real surprises where you've been, you know, things have gone kind of what you think, oh, I didn't think the world would work that way. I mean, have you had big surprises along the way?
Yeah, I think I was far more positively surprised. I saw numbers and outcomes that I never expected to see. So coming from Western market where you're fixated on the returns that you can find in the business. So it's always, I know, 10, 15, maybe 20%. But there are instances where actually returns can be much higher. So that was probably one realization. Also seeing how well behave other players in the market. Uh, Other than that, so I think there were some adoption things that boil down more to culture, um,
So, what sort of things?
especially when yeah. So in Europe, I think we're a lot more direct. So when we talk to people, we just I don't know say or ask what we mean. Tanzanian and African culture more generally is more indirect communication. So no one tells you in face what they actually mean. And so that was one of the biggest learning points for me. So I had to, find a very sensible or calm and nice way of communication to talk to people. And so we would actually understand each other. And so yeah, it's almost like they communicate via three other people
Yeah.
instead of telling you directly in face.
Yeah. And I mean, how easy was it to adapt to that way of working? Because that's a very different culture. I mean, what you're saying is that the culture is very different in Tanzania to Europe. I mean, how did you navigate that transition, if you like, that change to working in a what is a very different, so just a very, I mean, it must have been a little bit frustrating, I would have thought occasionally.
Very, very frustrating, yeah. Because I was damaging relationships and losing relationships. My direct tone and kind of like this drive to succeed and drive to perform and move to the next stage burned a lot of people. So they virtually left our business and left my life. So that's also um, that's one of the outcomes. But I had to change. I had to change how I speak to people, the tone that I use, the pace, how I communicate with people, and things got better. And so I think it made me become a better human being, which was actually a good outcome out of this, but it was not easy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you would have had to really work on listening skills because the trick is to try and get behind what they're saying, isn't it? And to understand what their meaning is if they're being very indirect, which I guess, I mean, tell me if I've got this wrong, but it sounds to me that you have to, you know, ask more questions, you have to be sensitive, you have to listen a lot because they're communicating in a very different way. I mean, do you feel you've become a better CEO as a result of that?
I think so. I think what listening is certainly one big part of it. The other one is holding your reaction. So just having a little bit of patience to react to things. So listen a little bit longer that you would normally when you start reacting and giving direction, giving orders, giving tasks, etc. So have a little bit more patience in that communication. And then either things resolve themselves or you have better view of what's actually going on and then you pick the right course of action.
Yeah. And have you had to make any very difficult decisions along the way? I mean, have you faced difficult sort of trade-offs and things?
Yeah, the biggest trade-off is actually family time. That's that's a real trade-off. So I need to choose whether I spend time with my family, and whether I spend in business. And that's a real trade-off. That's probably one of the toughest things. So right now I made choice to stick with the business for now. So most of the time I'm right now building in Tanzania while my family is in Uganda.
Right. That must be hard, actually. Do you go back to Uganda a fair bit?
Yeah, I try to go back, but that's one of the things, yeah, uh, that is required by this business. And if you look at our team members, especially those who work in the bush, so they spend 2 months in, 2 weeks out. So we have mothers who wouldn't see their kids, yeah, for 2 months, even babies, and
Wow.
that is normal. Yeah. Also husbands, fathers of 5 children, yeah, being away for family, especially when you're in more senior roles and you're in the
Yeah.
middle of the high season, you wouldn't see your family for 5 6 months even. The same with the best chefs. So they aggregate their leave days towards the low season. In the high season, yeah, you basically separated from your family, and that can be very tough. But African people are very tough, so they don't complain. That is normal. Kids are being raised by extended family and extended support from very early age.
Yeah. And how do you, I mean, given how difficult that is for people, I mean, how do you kind of create a culture where people can support each other and, where you can get the best, because obviously you're at the top end of the market. I mean, it's a high end experience. I mean, you want to have really good quality customer service. And so how do you create a culture in that environment that where staff are able to do, if you like, their best work? I mean, how do you build that kind of supportive culture? I mean, how have you approached that?
Yeah. And so I think yeah, the words that you said is the best place to perform and work. That's what we're trying for, and that's very unusual in these markets. We really pay attention to it. One of our co-founders and our CEO, his name is Yannis Kokainis. He was he was operations manager in Amazon, and so Amazon um, is doing a lot in people management, and so we try to bring a lot of values and this Western approach to actually creating a good environment for our staff members, so that they could become the best versions of themselves, whether personally or professionally. And it starts with creating safe environment. And
Mhm.
all of the co-founders and management team were good people, so we wouldn't tolerate any lack of integrity or abuse towards each other. So whether that's, I don't know, raising voice, using inappropriate language, adultery, whatever, theft. So we don't tolerate any of that behavior that is below the standard. And then we try to also offer people growth opportunities. We do a lot of training. We do a lot of um, knowledge transfer. So in financial management, in sales, in operations management. So we literally train people, and as we grow fast, they also have path to develop.
Yeah.
Whereas other properties is they may be smaller. The scope is fixed. So basically, if you're in that role, you could be in that role for many years. And so we also see that in the demand for our positions. So I think I just recently posted that we're hiring for a few positions. We got several hundred people applying for a
Wow.
position. Yeah, so we're well regarded in that respect, and we want to become one of the best employers in these markets.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I can see the importance of that given the customer group that you're targeting. So let me ask you, to what extent would you say luck has helped you make the business or help the business be successful?
Huge. I'm not the um how to put it. I could not make this happen by myself. It
Mm.
somehow happened by itself. And whether it's luck, destiny, whatever it is, or God, but there was something beyond me that made this happen. Was not I was not so advanced to kind of like put all this together myself. So I know like this business wouldn't exist if I wouldn't have gone to Tanzania, or I would miss one meeting, or we didn't manage to kind of like add certain amount of capital in the right time. So it was all very fragile. And so now
Mm.
looking in hindsight about the path, how this actually happened, it was just pure magic. So I don't know. It's very
Nothing wrong with a
interesting.
bit of
So
magic.
there was definitely a bit of magic, and we could call it luck. Yeah. And so I'm very lucky and grateful for my co-founders. We're three business partners. So I bring to the table maybe financial background and business entrepreneurship acumen, and also design or good taste. Let's put it that way. Jan is he's based in Cincinnati, Ohio. He brings operational expertise, truly global, uh, really great professional. And then we have Simon, who's our local Tanzania partner. He's been 20 years in safari industry and safari accommodation. So I think we bring a good mix that is very unique in these markets.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you about when things go wrong. Tell me about the biggest mistake you've made, and what did you learn from it?
That's a good question. The biggest mistake we made. Yeah. So when we were building the second property, I thought that we made a mistake. I thought we made a fatal mistake that we invested in the wrong park. So the
Right.
first property we built in world famous Serengeti Park, and there's almost like guaranteed demand if you manage to get inside the park. The second property we built in Tarangire, and so Tarangire is upcoming park. It's not. It's theoretically was not there yet, and so we opened Serengeti six months before the high season. We suffered a bit because we basically entered low season for five
Yeah.
6 months, and then we came back out in June. Um, and so, but what it actually gave us is that we had 6 months time to sell those rooms. And
Right.
for safari travel industry, most of the sales happen six to 9 months in advance. But then we opened Tarangira just before the high season. So high season starts in June. We opened Tarangira 1st of June, and we thought we nailed it. So we basically reduced the time we spent in low season, and we just entered the high season. And the first season in Tarangira was terrible. Like we lost money, so it didn't work out. We thought we made a mistake. We built in wrong part. But as we progressed and as we approached kind of like the next low season, we started to see bookings coming in for the next high season. And
Mm.
actually, Tarangire started performing much better than Serengeti even.
Wow.
And so we didn't make a mistake about the park, but we made a mistake maybe about the timing.
Yeah.
Because as we delivered, as we commissioned so close to the high season, we didn't have the window to make the bookings. So we basically missed the sales season,
Yeah.
to
And
put it
what did
that
you
way.
learn from that? I mean, what was your sort of takeaway from that, as it were, that mistake? I mean, that
Uh,
experience.
my biggest takeaway right now from that is that there's not much value in trying to time when you release properties. So whenever it's available, whenever it's ready, just put it out in the market and use
Right.
that timing to refine the customer experience on board people, train them so that they're ready for the high season, um, and just allocate a little bit more in the budget for the working capital. So that's the magic combination. So I'm not gonna even attempt to time the property release anymore. Maybe I'm gonna come back at some point, but right now it doesn't make sense. So trying to make use of the timing when you actually open the property and make it.
Yeah. I guess
Can you hear me?
it's, yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you. I guess it's about having
Okay.
the capital to cushion you if those situations occur, isn't it? If you get the timing wrong, if you see what I mean, having the capital enables you to kind of ride that out, doesn't it? And as you say, you use it as an opportunity to train people and all the rest of it. So it's an interesting point there. Let me ask you about the flip side. I mean, we've just talked about mistakes. What are the things that excite you most about where the business is going?
So there are two parts that really excite me. One is that really making Safari real estate as a new asset class.
Hmm.
So it didn't exist previously. So that is something that we're doing. I love innovation. So we're really innovating these things, which is very unexpected actually for a Safari real estate market or Safari market altogether. So there's a lot of innovation that we bring in that space to the market, which feels exciting, which also means that we do a lot of education. So we post a lot of content out there on most of the major platforms and just telling and educating people how this business behaves, what it takes to build such businesses. The other part is about the property management side. So right now there are two. It's almost like a barbell. So from one side you have individual owners
Hmm.
who are typically locals who manage to scramble some, put together some capital, open a lodge, and so it's managed as a small business.
Hmm.
So it's not really professionalized, and um, they might provide a good service, and they also might not provide good service.
Hmm.
And so from the other side, there are the big brands who are right now being pulled into these markets. The Marriott with JW Marriott brand, with Ritz Carlton. There are a few other big brands that come in, and they come in with big requirement lists
Hmm.
that you need to fulfill as a developer. And so then you get a huge bill for the development. For a Safari camp, you might build a Safari camp for 5 to 10 million, whereas we invest, for instance, $1 million per property. So there's a lot of inflation
Hmm.
when it comes to actually landing those brands. So we feel that there might be a gap or there might be a space in the middle between these two where we might help these individual um, property developers, camp
Hmm.
developers, or maybe potentially new investors that want to come and land into this market, but they don't want to necessarily deal with the day-to-day operations. So I think I'm quite excited where this is going to take, kind of like landing in the middle. It's almost like some people call it, like we might become Marriott for Safari industry, but of course
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting opportunity, isn't it? I mean, I can see why you're excited by that. A couple of last questions before we wind up. I mean, looking back on the journey, if you were starting from scratch, what would you do differently now?
Hmm. I think it was almost like on a perfect path. I couldn't imagine we could do something different. Um, we went in the market fairly fast, so we built two properties within 10 months, opening um, in one after another in a span of months. And then we slowed down a bit because we
Mhm.
thought we made a fatal mistake with the developing in the wrong park. So in hindsight, we could have gone faster. We could have gone faster. Um, but I think we went on the perfect path. I know there's probably nothing I would change. Yeah.
Right, okay. And one last question. If you were to offer a piece of advice to a rookie CEO starting out on a kind of journey, trying to do something similar to you? I mean, what would that advice be?
Yeah, do it. So CEO can be a job, and CEO can be just an extension of, let's say, a business owner or co-founder role or
Mm,
founder role. And so I had my last job six years ago. 2020 was my last time year, and it takes a bit of leap of faith. And so when you just get started, you just try to do everything you can to stay afloat.
mm,
And the funny thing is that usually the thing that you um, start doing at that time is not the thing that you're going to keep doing.
mm.
So one business idea, one activity leads to another. And
Yeah,
so you just have to get started, and eventually you're going to find, or let's put it this way, eventually the market is going to tell what it needs from you.
yeah,
You just have to keep your eyes
yeah,
and
yeah.
ears open to listen to the market, and that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice for somebody starting out. So I really appreciate that. And thank you for sharing the story. I mean, that just sounds like a great business to me. I mean, really, just, it has lots. I can see why you're excited about it, and it's very different to anything that I've seen out there. So, I mean, thank you for coming on. Thanks for sharing the story and good luck going forward.
Thank you, Paul.
Cheers then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.